Boss fights. Some are really hard and some are really easy. And today gameranx wants to talk to you about the 10 easiest boss fights that we have played. Big ass spoiler warning. There are spoilers in this video. I don't know why I said it like that. Number 10, General Grievous in Star Wars Battlefront 2. General Grievous was sold as a character that was outright scary. It's a cyborg with several lightsabers that he had actually taken from the dead bodies of Jedis he'd killed. And it did the trick in the movie. He was probably one of the coolest parts, or maybe one of the only cool parts depending on what you think of the movie. However, in Star Wars Battlefront 2, you could kill General Grievous as he spawned if you were so inclined. But even so, he wasn't that hard when you were actually fighting against him. His main move was actually just blocking, which as we all know isn't exactly a devastating special or a spectacle-oriented fatality. Number 9, Halo 4's Diadact. So I don't know if you've ever had a last boss fight where every single other moment in the game is an actual fight, and then the boss, the final boss, the thing the whole game's been building to, is a quick time event? If you have never encountered that, then you've never beat Halo 4. Because that's how you beat Halo 4, by pressing the buttons at the right time. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with quick time events. In fact, some of my favorite games are based on them. And that goes all the way back to Shenmue on the Dreamcast, which basically popularized the modern form of the quick time event, and is still a fantastic game. But this is the end of a first-person shooter. Are you joking? Number 8. When Wrath of the Lich King was originally released, the boss battle against the Lich King himself, Arthas, was far too difficult for most players to beat. But because Blizzard wanted everyone to experience the boss fight and win, they added a buff, which was called Hellscrim's War Song for Horde players, and Strength of Rin for Alliance players, that increased the power by 5% each week 1 month after the expansion was released. Now this buff only worked within the Icecrown Citadel, where this boss fight took place, you know, to prevent people from having ultimate power everywhere, and it capped at 30%. It not only increased total health, but also healing and damage done for all the players in the raid. The buff made the boss fight and the rest of the raid actually very easy, and players who wanted an additional challenge could speak to an NPC and disable the buff, but there was very little point in doing that, as the boss fight was now just really easy to beat. Number 7 is from Final Fantasy VII. Yep, we did it, the numbers lined up. Okay, so the very final boss, Sephiroth, is super easy. Now keep in mind, Sephiroth has already taken the form of the one-winged angel and you fought him that way, but you get through and you're kind of like, okay, is this over? And then he's there again. And you're like, oh, more? Come on. How many times do I have to kill you? Well, the Omni Slash attack was designed to be the ultimate Sephiroth stopping attack. You could really beat him with a simple slash. Or you could even just not attack him at all. When he attacks you, sure, he'll deplete most of your HP, even if you're at the highest possible level, but you'll counterattack, and that will kill him. There does not have to be any input whatsoever. You beat this Sephiroth boss. Period. In fact, the only way you cannot beat it is by pressing the power button on your console. Number 6, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. The first boss in the game looks pretty frightening, I have to say. It's a creatively scary looking boss that makes you feel like you're actually going to have to deal with something here. You're not though. Simply attacking Goma with your slingshot and then going mad with your sword ends her. Like instantly. If that's what you do and you act fast enough, Goma doesn't even get a chance to attack by laying eggs, which create smaller Gomas that attack you. That's her only defense. It's hard to believe they needed a chosen hero to get through this. Number 5, Brock in Pokemon Red and Blue. Brock has a rock type Pokemon, so if you picked either Bulbasaur or Squirtle, you will have no trouble. Basically, if you've spent any time whatsoever leveling up one of those two, you have attacks that will take out Brock's Pokemon in about, 2 or 3 turns. I prefer to kind of lull Brock into a sense of security and then whip out those attacks at the last minute when he thinks he's gonna win. And then I go, I showed you, Game Boy Machine. And then I look around in my dark room and I say, why am I so lonely? Number 4, Race in Dying Light. Yeah, so remember how Halo 4's ending is just a QTE? So is Dying Light's. Although I will say it is a little bit better than Halo's. On account, Halo's is pretty uneventful. I mean, at least Dying Light's is entertaining on some level, but really the last fight being a QTE in any action game, or any game that isn't primarily QTEs up until that point in some way, is ridiculous. At best. Like, would you ask for this, ever. I wouldn't. Nobody ever goes, listen up, if the next Call of Duty game doesn't end with a QTE battle, if Dead Space's last boss is not a QTE, I am not in. Come on, Bowser wasn't even a QTE. I feel so unfulfilled. No one has ever said any of those things. Don't do this in this kind of a game. Number 3, in Borderlands 2 Sir Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt DLC, Professor Nakayama has quite the build-up. He's seen just outside his laboratory, psyching himself up, getting ready for the fight of his life. And then, just as you're about to duel it out, he falls down the friggin' stairs. He breaks his neck, and as what happens when you break your neck, he dies. I honestly don't have much else to say about this. He just falls down the stairs and dies. It's hilarious. But Borderlands is hilarious. It's the type of thing you can expect from them. And I love a good fake out. Number 2, Lucien Fairfax in Fable 2. Basically, Lucien was a dick. I mean, he doesn't really start off as a huge dick. His wife dies, and then he goes into a depression. But that's not an excuse to become a huge dick. And by that, I mean tyrannical, genocidal ruler. Anyway, fast forward till when you actually have to fight Lucien. You've just beaten a series of difficult bosses, and he powers up. And then he begins talking. The best villains can't resist a monologue. In fact, heroes seem to be pretty good at monologuing as well. People just like to talk. Let's just say that. Talk is cheap, especially when you're about to fight. So you grow impatient and shoot him in the middle of the speech. And if you don't, your party members will, and he just dies. Normally I would be like, what a tease. This was such an ungratifying end of the game. But Lucien's a dick, and I don't like listening to him talk. So when he's like, blah, 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 and you just bam, dead, you don't even give him the opportunity to be a tough fight. You're just like, all right, you're talking. I don't want to hear it. How about I put a bullet in your brain? That's how you beat a villain. I walked away from that smiling. And number 1 is Colonel Autumn in Fallout 3. Alright, you've just taken on Liberty Prime, who has really hyped you up, making you think, oh shit, the next thing is going to be a big deal. And out comes Colonel Autumn, named for the cool way of saying the season between summer and winter. Colonel Autumn sounds like a real badass. And then you realize people named after seasons can't be badasses. And you just switch into VATS mode and kill them. And that's it. There's not anything more to it. It's easy. You turn on VATS mode and you kill them. So anyway, out of these, which did you play? Do you remember how easy these were? Do you remember other ones that were equally as easy? Leave us a comment and just kind of let us know generally what you're thinking about right now. Also, don't forget to click the like button, and if you're not subscribed yet, do so now. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and the best way to see them first is a subscription. We thank you so much, as always, for watching this video, and we will see you next time here on gameranx.